we're having a little trouble with our microphone. Looks like we're going to go with this. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's the right microphone now. Okay, let's try that again. Thanks for being with us. Great to be with you today. My name's Brad Macbeth from The Simple Plan, and this is The Simple Plan Live. As always, you can find us on Facebook at Macbeth Group, or you can find us on Instagram and Twitter. On Instagram, we're also at Macbeth Group. On Twitter, we are at Cash Coach Canada. And we want to thank our sponsor for today, the Simple Plan Life Insurance. You can get your own personal life insurance quotes from all major Canadian insurers for free instantly at www.getthesimpleplan.com/quotes. Or if you need to figure out how much life insurance you should have, or whether you've got enough or maybe you've got too much, check out www.getthesimpleplan.com/how much, and you can calculate exactly what your family's insurance need is. You know, one of the things that's interesting in getting a quote is that we often find that people are paying more than they need to because the price of term insurance has come down again and again and again for many, many years. Now, as always, we have a special tool for you today, and we're going to tell you all about that tool. We're going to show you how to use it. That is what today's opportunity is all about. The free cash flow tutorial. You can get it at bit.ly/worksheet tutorial. That's going to give you both the worksheet tool that we're going to demonstrate today and a filmed tutorial on how to do all of that good stuff. So we hope you'll take advantage of that. So let's get right to it. I want to share with you this great tool that we have developed for people to help people manage their cash flow. And cash flow, sometimes people think of it as budgeting, but cash flow is more than that. And many people, of course, have had negative experiences with budgeting. It's a lot like dieting. People have tried many different ways, many different times, never been successful, often given up. But let me tell you that cash flow, managing your personal cash flow, is the absolute foundation to having total control over your finances, which is going to get you where you want to go financially in this life. And so if you don't do that, people are going to manage your cash flow for you. And who are those people? Well, they're marketers, they're salespeople, they're banks, they're credit card companies, because you are being bombarded with messaging and so-called opportunities to spend your money and get those things that are supposed to make you happy. And we're so inundated with those things, and we're very susceptible to them, even though most of us think we're not. But when you have your cash flow under control, you know what you can do with your money, and it's going to get you where you want to go. Now, one of the things that people often complain about when they think of managing their cash flow, when they think of that nasty B word, budget, they think, I'm not going to be able to do anything. Just like if I'm on a diet, I'm not going to be able to eat anything I enjoy. Well, it's actually quite the opposite with a cash flow plan. With a cash flow plan, you are going to be able to enjoy your spending when you're making purchases because you're comfortable and confident about what you're doing, because you know that you have the money to do it. You have to be able to answer that most simple and yet profound question, what can I afford? Can I afford this? You have to be able to answer that question, whether it's a $4 fancy coffee, or whether it's a $40,000 car, or whether it's a $400,000 mortgage on a home. You have to be able to answer those questions, and it's gotten harder and harder for a whole bunch of reasons to do that. So today, I don't want to just kind of preach the merits of having a cash flow plan. What I really want to do is show you how this tool works. And you can download the tool. I gave you the address earlier. We'll give it to you again. So let's have a look at the tool itself. Here is a view of the tool. You can see it. It's called your spending plan. This is a part of your cash flow plan. And so I'm sure it looks somewhat like a budget to you in several ways, but it's just a part of your overall cash flow plan. And as it says right there, what you want to do is give every dollar a job. You want to tell every dollar what to do. Because if you don't tell every one of your dollars what to do, someone else is going to tell it what to do for you. And that's not going to lead you where you want to go in life. So let's have a look. Once you've downloaded and printed this thing, we're going to go kind of analog here, old school, and I'm going to show you exactly how this works with one of my favorite tools for managing cash, and that is a pencil. You'll notice there's a delete button at the top here that works just great as well. So let's have a look at this. So what you want to do first, once you've downloaded and printed this, and by the way, we're putting out an online version of this as well that's going to be available to people. But I find that starting out this way is the simplest thing to do. And that's because you're not going to be able to get the numbers right immediately. It's going to take some fussing and messing around to get things straight. So we start by entering in the top our monthly income. And I'm just going to make these numbers up. We're going to go with $5,000 as a net monthly income. That would be a not uncommon average Canadian family take-home pay income. Now let me just flip over. This is 2 pages, this tool. Let me flip over to the second page and show you there's 2 ways that you can go about this. And probably you're going to go about it both ways. The first way is to just map out line by line how much you spend in each category. But the better way, once you get that mastered, is to go to this tool on the back page here. And you'll remember we had $5,000 as our monthly income. And then you want to allocate all your money so that it totals 100%. Now, there's lots of ways to do that. But you could just, for example, though, go down this list here. So if we go 10% of 5,000 for giving, we're big believers in giving to others. And hopefully, once you really get your finances under control, you can give even more than that. Saving, this is for long-term retirement planning. We believe that you will do very well. If you don't have like a workplace defined benefit pension plan, which mostly applies only to government workers now, you probably want to be setting aside 15% of your income in order to be saving enough to retire comfortably. So in this case, 15%, that would be $750. Your home expenses, and that includes your mortgage, your property taxes, and maintaining your home. Really, you don't want to get beyond 30% of your income for that. So we'll set this at 30%. So that would be $1,500. 5% for utilities would be $250. Let's call it 15% for transportation. Maybe we have to run a couple of cars in this house. That's $750. Financial security, we'll talk about that another time, but that's kind of the bubble wrap around your entire financial plan. It includes things like an emergency fund, life insurance, all that good stuff. You want to go with, we'll go low end here and call it 5%. Now, you might have a miscellaneous family category because maybe, there's lots of people that have things like child maintenance payments, alimony, other things that might be family related. We're going to leave that blank for this in this case. 5 to 15% for food. Let's say we like to eat nicely, so we'll go with the 15%. So that's $750. 5% for clothing. That's another $250. Now remember, these are monthly numbers, right? So that's actually a pretty hefty number for clothing. But if you're clothing a family, you're probably going to go that route. 5% to 7% for healthcare. That would be for things that are not normally covered. And we'll see them as we go through the categories. Personal, that's just spending money. So we'll go low end again, $250. Recreation, that's going to be monthly. So let's say we like to have lots of fun. And debt, initially you may not be at zero. Ultimately, we want to be at zero. So that's where we get to on this. So let's see where we're at. Bring out my other favorite tool. And this is what we come out to, 5,800. Okay, so we know we have a problem. We're 800 over. So we would then go back and massage these numbers until we got them at the level we wanted them. So that's one way. And that's what we would call the top-down method of building your spending plan. We start with percentages, what we think we should be spending. Now, of course, the other way, and the place you really need to start, is what am I actually spending? Now, the really good news is that your bank, because we use cards so much in our country to do our spending, debit cards and credit cards, you probably already have all this information. Unless you're a person who uses cash a lot, you're going to have all this information in your last few months' statements for your bank accounts, your debit cards, and your credit cards. And you can go and pull all that out. So then you would go line by line through all of this. And so again, and this breaks it down more. So we're going to look at, again, we might start with our giving. And, maybe we don't need an emergency fund, we have one already saved, so we don't have to be adding to that. So long-term saving, again, we'll go with our 15%. Now, maybe education savings. If you've got kids and you're wanting to save for them as well, you might be saving something for that. So maybe you're putting aside, $200 a month approximately per child will get you the Maximum Canada Education Savings Grant. So maybe you got $400 going to that, or maybe nothing. That's entirely optional. So let's say your mortgage is $1,500 a month, and you've got another $65 a month going to your insurance. Hopefully, you're getting rid of any second mortgage or line of credit. Property taxes, maybe that's $250 a month, depending where you live. Maybe you've got strata fees. You need some budget for repairs and maintenance. We've included a long-term furniture category. Furniture is a big ticket item, and you probably need to be setting some aside here and there. Then you're going to go down through your utilities. And as you go through all this, part of what you're going to discover is, where exactly am I spending all my money? And you're going to find out what many Canadians kind of know, but it's often masked, and that is that they're spending more monthly than they're bringing in. Now, we know that's the case because net consumer debt is going up as a percentage of household income year over year. Well, how can that be? Well, the only way for that to happen is for debt to be increasing. Now, of course, mortgage debt's a part of that. But another very significant part of that is credit cards and these notorious lines of credit. So many of our client families start out with lines of credit attached to their house. And here's the thing. If you're actually spending money on debt, through debt, that is, you're either drawing money from your line of credit, or you are spending money on a credit card and not paying off your credit card bill every month. The question is, where is that money going to come from to pay that debt down? Because that means if you can't spend that extra money this month, where's it going to come from next month or the month after, especially when interest starts accumulating? And especially if you do it 2 months and 3 months and 4 months in a row. And this is where most Canadians find themselves. So we're going to do a whole episode on debt, but you really need to focus on getting that out of your life. So what happens is when you go through this exercise, we can have taken our totals from here, where we estimated how much we should be spending, though of course we have to revise that because that's too much. And then we could just add that into each category. So this house one, again, we decided was going to be no more than 30%, which is $1,500. Well, we already know we're well beyond $1,500. So we have to look, are we going to make some adjustments there? Or can we afford this and all that we're doing? And here's what normally happens is people go through all these other categories, and the category that suffers two categories suffer. This category of saving, people don't save, which is the most common. And then the other is their debt just increases and increases and increases. So you're going to go through each category. Most of these are fairly straightforward. Transportation is another very big spending area for families. We've got various insurance plans. Life insurance and disability insurance are really the two most essential ones, because what they insure, it's not really your life that's being insured or disability that's being insured. What's being insured is your ability to make an income. That's the number one asset most of us have. So that's what that is about. We talk about that in a whole other financial security tutorial. Family, so that includes daycare, school, maybe you've got some school fees, maybe you're paying for some babysitting, maybe you got child support, spousal support. That's what that family category we saw is all about. Food, we include groceries and eating out. I would also say that this category of eating out is another huge category for where people are spending that they have no idea how much they're spending. Believe me, making your own food, making your own coffee at home is far, far cheaper than getting it out. That doesn't mean we should never eat out, doesn't mean we should never buy coffee on the go or anything like that. It just means we need to know what we can afford. Because when we don't know what we can afford, that's how debt accumulates and sneaks up on us and becomes just a horrible burden. And as the old adage goes, if your upkeep exceeds your income, your upkeep will be your downfall. Or put it another way, if your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep will be your downfall. And that's what we see. And what does it mean by downfall? Well, because of credit now, primarily credit cards and lines of credit, that is not experienced as bankruptcy or going to the poorhouse, as used to happen in ancient times. That's experienced instead as just huge financial stress. And so many people are using their houses, if they own them, like a cash machine to bail themselves out of these problems. But they're just not setting themselves up for success in the future, and they're also running terrible stress, tension, anxiety at home as they try to deal with their finances. One other thing I'll say is you really just have to take some time. It does take time to do these things. So if we go through healthcare, you may have a benefits plan you're paying for that's not part of your work. You may have co-pays or other fees you have to pay for prescriptions, some private medical costs, some dental costs. Eyeglasses is a big one because most people, even if they have a workplace benefits plan, their eyeglasses are more expensive than what gets covered. And then we get through all the personal care categories, cosmetics, hair care, which includes going to the hairdresser, that kind of thing. Also very big on these personal cash. I have to say, one of the financial sources of stress in marriage is when people have no room to breathe. It's like they have to have a committee meeting to do any spending. Everybody should have some money to be able to spend as they see fit without having to go before the finance committee to make some choices about that. You need to decide what that amount is for your family. Pet care and veterinary, those are things you really want to keep in mind as well. All the different things we do to enjoy ourselves in recreation. And then here, of course, this is very typical of the many types of debts many families have. Again, we want to get to the point where we're spending absolutely zero on this, that the only debt that your family would have is your home, your personal home mortgage. So once we've gone through all this, if we get to the point where we go $5,800 is what we're spending and $5,000 is what we've got coming in, we have to go back through all these categories and revise. We have to cut. We, unlike Parliament, cannot finance our lifestyle by raising taxes. We can only do it by working and earning income. And so that's the other answer. If your outgo is 5,800 and your income is 5,000, well, you can always go get some more work and earn enough to cover that. But you have to get this stuff in balance. But once you do, so let me just give you an example. Clothing. Which is here. All right. So let's say that we've got budgets of 100 a month for adults for clothing and 150 because we've got 2 growing children for kids. Now, that stuff, that tends to accumulate. I don't find that I go out and spend $100 a month on, or $50 a month if I were splitting that with my wife. I don't find that I spend that every month. I find that I go for months without buying clothing, and then I have some significant expenses. And so that money will accumulate. But when you go to spend it, you don't have to go through anxiety about, well, can I afford this $150 pair of running shoes? Or can I afford this nice jacket? What can I afford? You know what you can afford because you've got the money. And if you've got the money, you can afford it. And if you don't got the money, then you can't afford it. And you need to adjust to that reality, which is you shop somewhere less expensive, or you shop secondhand, or you maybe buy something off of Facebook Marketplace, or whatever choice you make. But you manage to the level of financial comfort that you can enjoy. And financial comfort only comes when we're not, first off, when we're not spending more than we're bringing in, when we have an emergency fund and financial security in place so that if something big happens, we can deal with it financially, when we know we're saving enough for our long-term future so we'll be taken care of when the time comes that we don't want to or can't work anymore, and when we know that no matter what, our family would be financially secure if something happened that undermined or eliminated our ability to earn an income in the future. Without those ingredients, we can't be financially confident, and we have this anxiety because we know these things are all possible or all necessary, and then we don't have comfort because we know that we are vulnerable. So your spending plan is really the cornerstone on the foundation that is your cash flow plan. So that's as much as I wanted to run through on this today. So what I want you to do is go and download this tool. There's a tutorial on the page as well. So if you go to this page, bit.ly/worksheet tutorial, you can download the worksheet and watch the video. There's a whole video there that goes through the tutorial. And I've only shown you the first part of this exercise of managing your cash flow. The other part is, and this is where most people fall down, the second part is when we go to put this plan into action. So when we go to put this into action, to implement what we've recorded here, what happens is reality kicks in and we have difficulty with it and we don't quite know why. And so what we need to do is put a plan in place so that when the money comes in, paycheck by paycheck, and that can often be many paychecks in a multi-income household. You might have, if you've got 2 spouses working and each one has a side hustle as well, there can be 4 different streams of income coming in, and they're all coming in at different times. You've got to be able to map where the money needs to go and when it needs to go. That's called a cash flow map. That's the other part. So your spending plan and your cash flow map are the 2 components to your cash flow plan. And so once you get those secured and in place, everything flows from there. That's the foundation that you build your financial house on. So again, thanks very much for joining in. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch. You can always get in touch with us through our website. We want to thank our sponsor for the day, the Simple Plan Life Insurance. Get your free life insurance quote from all major Canadian insurers instantly at getthesimpleplan.com/quotes. Or if you need to figure out whether you have the right amount of coverage or how much coverage your family needs, you can do that at getthesimpleplan.com/how much. I want to thank you very much for joining us today. Again, you can find us on Facebook at Macbeth Group. You can also join our Simple Plan community from there as well. And you can find us on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter, we're at Cash Coach Canada. And on Instagram, we're also at Macbeth Group. Thanks very much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. We will see you again next week, and we look forward to seeing you online after you've downloaded your tutorial information and your worksheet. We'll see you next week.